going on, Dunce's family? Yes, we are back with another episode, and yes, this is part two of our two-part series here. Not series, I guess. Well, I don't know what this is, to be honest with you, but it is part two. And I know our faces look really small here, and it's just a bunch of white at your face right now, so I'm very sorry. But we are here to discuss plenty of topics. First things first, let's just get certain things out of the way. Jordan Poole got paid. Andrew Wiggins
Got
got
paid.
paid. DeAndre Hunter got paid.
Draymond did
Uh,
not.
Draymond did not. However, he still, I believe, he has a few more days. I think he has till the end of October to get that done. I don't think it will, but we'll see. Also, I've been sick, so that's why I haven't uploaded any of the videos. If you guys cared, but yeah, I guess no one really does. But let's discuss Isandro real quick before anything. In fact, before we even get into we want to get into right now with picking the top 8 teams for the playoffs this upcoming season, I want to ask you real quick on that whole contract extension thing. Uh, do you think it was the Jordan Poole and Draymond Green thing that made Jordan Poole get paid slightly above what many people expected or anticipated? Do you think that had anything to do with it?
Would he have made 35 regardless? Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
I
Hmm.
think so. I think look, I know we had the discussion out, outside of on like our messages or whatever, but I think it was perfectly fine. I don't see why it
I think it's overpaid in my opinion. I
I
don't care about inflation. The league, the salary cap's
inflation
going up.
inflation is super important though. I think you really have to take that into account and
But it's not gonna
understand that.
account for 10 plus million. I don't
Well,
think.
no, what do you mean 10 plus? Like you think he was only worth 25?
Yeah. Yeah. Jordan Poole is worth 25.
Look, as good as Jordan Poole is, as much as he's showing flashes of Curry. I'm not saying he is Curry, but he's showing flashes of when Curry beat the Nuggets and is what made Curry him, right? I'm seeing that in Jordan Poole, and Jordan Poole is what 22 years old. Like I don't see why 35 million is such a big, like a massive number when he's arguably their third best player on the team. Like who is it after Steph? Who is it?
Who was their second best player in that title run?
Who was it? Wiggins?
It was Wiggins, yeah.
Okay, and then after that, it's Poole.
Okay, but they're getting paid the same. Wiggins
Exactly.
is making less
Well, no, no, because the way
because
the
it's
yeah, it was a weird, yeah, it's a structured contract. The thing is, yes, I understand what you mean, and like 35 million does seem like a lot, but I guarantee you in 2 years that's gonna mean nothing. 35 mil, I mean, not that it's gonna mean nothing, but it's gonna be like
he'll be worth the 35.
exactly. He's that good, bro. Like I don't think we're.
All right, I'll take your word for
I
it.
don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, maybe who knows?
I
He
like the
might be
idea
like
of
a
the
Jamal Crawford
promise.
type player,
Yeah.
just a bench player, stuff like that, which is still fine too. Now that would make that 35 million overpay. So he really needs to prove it this season, and that's why I feel like the Warriors might have messed up. However, if they would have waited until the end of the year, he probably would have gotten he would have been eligible for more money. So they
He
actually,
probably wouldn't have more than 35. He would have had to have like a all-star 25 PPG like game like
yeah.
season for that to happen.
Do
I
you think
think
the
35
Warriors?
was how much he would have made regardless.
But that's why I asked that question in the beginning. Do you think the Warriors kind of felt like they had to do this signing
See,
because of the
that's
whole
why I said it
Draymond
was a bit of an
situation?
overpay because 35 was what I was thinking. They let the year play out. He improves a little bit, and it's like, oh, now we're
Right.
forced to shell out 35, a la Jalen Brunson, except, he ended up going to the Knicks. But they kind of
Right.
just preemptively did that. My thing that I was wondering was when you preemptively give them the contract, it's so that you won't have to pay them that much later on because he would have made 35 later on, but you're just giving it to him now. It kind of just defeats the purpose.
But
I guess
he would have asked for more because he would have been eligible for more if they would have waited.
he would have gotten 35. Like that's
He
how
would have gotten
much.
more. He would have gotten like 40 from any other team.
No, for 40? For Chris Paul is making 40. I understand, like he didn't have a good playoff. Like he didn't have a good
No, no, no.
series
I'm
against
saying like
40 is
you.
mind-boggling to
So
me, man.
think about it like this, right? Like Miles Bridges was going to get the max with the Pistons, right? But the Hornets were going to match it. However, the Hornets would have been able to offer him at least, I believe the number was $37 million a year. They didn't want to do that because the Hornets are cheap. That's their thing. But if they were the Warriors, they would have given him $37 million. Now, I only give Miles Bridges as an example. It's because it was basically the same thing, right? Like it's the rookie extension. Difference was they extended him now rather than wait for the end of the season where they would have had to have paid him more because his value would have gone up because it's a contract year. Now, in Jordan Poole's case, he's probably not thinking, "Oh, like it's whatever, like I don't care anymore, right? I already got my bag. I'll play out my contract. I don't care if I never make an All-Star game." Like maybe that's his mentality, or he's thinking, "Let me prove to everybody that I'm worth this $35 million contract." So for Poole, he's cool. He's good. For the Warriors, that's where I can see your logic. It's like, do the Warriors really want to give this kid all this money for what? Like it's weird. It's a weird situation because they're paying what, like $400 million in taxes, almost 500. It's insane. It's really crazy how rich teams benefit in the NBA, but that's a whole separate topic. But in other news, let's talk about what we mentioned here today. Part two of our playoff prediction, I guess. Is that what this is? I don't know. This is the Eastern Conference this time. We have all these teams here, all 15 teams on the Eastern Conference. And if you notice here for our locks, we have specific criterias for the locks. Yellow means legit contenders. Green meets the criteria of which one was that? It's like borderline contenders. And then the rest, we'll see how they play out. However, let's give our playoff locks, Sandro. Milwaukee, just give me a head nod. Let me know. Yes. Sixers, Miami,
Just yeah, keep going.
Boston, Brooklyn. Those five teams are obviously making the playoffs. Of all these five teams, though, um, we have three that are legit locks, or that are legit contenders. One of which is the Celtics. Now, Boston is going through a whole big thing. Obviously, we know we already did a podcast on it. What do you feel about Boston briefly? Because we did mention it in the last pod that we did together. But briefly, give me your take on Boston, and why do you think they are still legit contenders?
I think I changed my mind. I don't think they're legitimate contenders. Ime Udoka, now that I'm thinking about it, I like we have like this short-term memory. The Celtics had so many question marks before Ime
Oh yeah,
actually kicked him up. Even when he was there, up until half the season, the Celtics were not good, and then he whipped them into shape. This roster without Ime Udoka, we got. I don't want to shoot myself in the foot saying this, but we've seen what this roster could do without Ime Udoka. I don't believe in this roster without him. I'm
man,
sorry.
that's
Like
tough.
I think they're going to be a decent regular season team. They'll be a lock for the playoffs, but I don't think they're going to be contenders without him. So maybe a second round exit. They were going to be actually a second round exit if Chris Middleton was healthy. So
I
now
agree.
that they don't even have Udoka, and they
And
have
they barely
players
beat
who have,
Miami.
and they barely beat Miami. Exactly. An
Yep.
injured Miami
Injured
player.
Miami. That's right.
So yeah, I don't think they're contenders, but they are playoff locks. We'll leave them in there.
However, I disagree somewhat. Only reason is because they still made it to the finals. I mean, regardless whether or not we want to admit that, like admit the fact that that matters or anything, still somewhat does. Celtics made the finals, even though Ime
Suns made the
Udoka
finals
wasn't
last
playing.
year.
Yeah, but the Suns are they were ran under Robert Sarver. It's a whole different team.
What is this bias?
No, no, okay, look, I am an avid Boston Celtics hater, but I love the players on their team, let's be real. I can't, I love Smart, I love Tatum, I love Brown, I love the way these guys play. It's amazing to watch. I just hate the fact that they're wearing Celtics green. Anyway, I think Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown took last season, took that playoff run, took that finals loss to heart, and I really think they're going to whip this team into shape. Bringing in Brogdon is the most amazing move that they could have made. Now, Robert Williams is going to hurt the first few months. He needs to learn how to just sit down when he's injured. He can't play when he's injured. That's not right. So If he's healthy, I actually disagree. I think it's the other way around. From what you said, you said that they're going to be a solid regular season team, but they're not going to be anything in the playoffs. I disagree. I think they're going to be an okay regular season team, probably the fifth seed, maybe even sixth seed. However, I still think they have the best potential to make it to the finals if you're, if it's not the Bucks, because I think the Bucks are like. In fact, we should just leave the Bucks in their own tier. I think the Bucks are the best team in the East, regardless. Like hands down, they are the best team in the Eastern Conference. Um, but
Probably the best team in the league, to be honest.
yeah, honestly, it's crazy how good they are, and they didn't even make any moves. It's just that talent that they already had, they were just injured, right? So, but who knows? Maybe that can come and bite them in the behind, you know. But you never know. They could always make a mid-season trade. Jordan Clarkson is still available. I've heard his name floated around with that team. And then quickly for Miami, we have them as like borderline contenders. Why do you think that's the case? Is it the fact that they lost PJ Tucker? Is it that Duncan Robinson can't shoot anymore? Or like what do you think it is?
Duncan Robinson is such an interesting case. It's like you
I
were only
love
ever
I
good
love
at
him.
one thing, bro. You only ever did one thing in your entire career, and then you forgot how to do that thing after you got paid. Oh my good. At least Julius Randle, he gets rebounds. He'll have a good game here and there.
You just
Like,
compared
bro,
Duncan
Duncan.
and Julie.
Because I mean, it's similar in a way, but oh my gosh, Duncan. I mean, at least his pod is kind of
His spot is
it
okay. It's all
exists.
right. It's not the best, but it's not the worst either. I've heard worse.
Yeah. So
I've
why
heard
why are
ours.
we saying the Heat are like outside? Yeah. Why are we saying the Heat are outside contenders? They didn't really get better. I
I
don't
think they
really
got worse.
believe in
Yeah,
Tyler Hero. Because he'll ball out in the regular season. He's not really
I
that.
think he's
He
the most
hasn't shown
overrated
us
player in the league,
anything in the
bro.
playoffs.
I think he really
He's
is the
one of
most
them.
overrated.
There's definitely some more
Yeah.
overrated players that
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
that
You're
are
right.
around,
You're
but
right.
he's definitely like top five, top three.
Like if you had a whole starting lineup of overrated players, he would definitely be their starting guard.
Be in there, yes, yes, I,
Yeah.
Kyle Lowry, he wasn't really too
And he's
good.
old. He's older.
It seems like another like get the bag and then he just falls off immediately kind of situation.
Yeah.
And they didn't really give Jimmy Butler any help, and he's just getting a year older. And so it's like maybe Bam is finally going to decide to be better offensively,
Yeah,
or
because we've been
maybe
waiting for that for a while, but
do
I
more on
feel
offense.
yeah, I feel
Yeah,
like at this point this is kind of what he is until
it
he
might
like
never
shows like a
come.
drastic improvement.
But we've seen him like it's like when he wants to turn it up, he'll drop like
I agree.
25, 30 points, good defense, a couple rebounds. So it's like we know you can do it. So it really just depends on that because they don't have a secondary superstar unless Victor Oladipo becomes 70 to 80% of what he was now that he's re-signed with them again.
Yeah,
And that could be like your dark, your X factor. Yeah, there you go.
there it is. Nice. Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. Then we got the Sixers. That Bucks you already mentioned. Sixers, they're just legit threats because they're so deep. They have a deep roster. Daniel House they brought in. Who else did they bring? PJ Tucker, DeAnthony Melton. Honestly, the sneakiest pickup this offseason. And then the Nets, we have them as playoff locks. Why do we have them as playoff locks? I feel like this is just a recipe for disaster. As a Nets fan, uh, why do
Yeah,
we
they're
have them
definitely a
there?
play because their roster is just so it's the same thing with the Celtics. Regardless of the coaching situation, that roster is built for the regular season.
Yeah,
And there's no way it's not a Lakers situation where it's like the roster is poorly constructed, but you're being carried by two superstars, so maybe you can kind of sneak in. Now they're carried by superstars, but the roster around those superstars is just fantastic. They got shooting, they got defense. Maybe they could use another wing, but they have Royce O'Neal, who I feel is going to be really good for them. PJ
he's
Warren.
solid.
This roster from top to bottom is just very good. I mean, I'm sure you can agree with me as a Nets fan,
No, cool,
regardless of the
cool. God, yeah,
coaching. Just the roster
yeah,
itself,
yeah. Yeah.
fantastic roster.
No, I agree. I think we do have one of the deepest rosters in the league. However, s- three out of the top 10 guys in our rotation are out for the opener, right? And they're going to be out for a while. I mean, I don't know how long, but they will be out. Seth Curry, shooter. Joe Harris, shooter. TJ Warren, 50-point game score, right? So we don't have three of our
PJ
guys.
Warren's still going to be out.
Yeah, he's out. He's
What?
yeah.
He's been out for 2 years.
Yeah. Well, it's Yes, he has been out
He
for
dr-
two
he
years.
dropped a couple 50
Uh,
pieces in the bubble, and we never saw him again.
he's out. That's all I know. Um, but so that it is a little scary. But then again, it is the beginning of the season. But then again, you have Kyrie, who is another player in your top 10, and he is all over the place sometimes. Ben Simmons is also another player in your top 10, and he is another one who is also all over the place. So yeah, it could be another playing thing, but I agree with you. I think they definitely are a playoff lock, and
I think those guys are gonna be locked in, bro.
the only
I'm
reason why we
telling you,
have them as
contract
like
year for Kyrie.
yeah, the only reason why I have them as like borderline contenders is because of the names on that roster, like Ben Simmons, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, and then your rotational pieces, right? That's the only reason why we have this because of the name factor. It really has nothing to do with their play on the court, because we have yet to see it. So we'll see what happens. But who cares about those teams, right? We're here to talk legit playoff slash play-in contenders. Now we had one team here when we were doing this together. Uh, I believed should have been considered playoff locks. You said no. And that was the Cavs. I felt like the Cavs are undoubtedly a playoff lock. But you said no. Give me a reason or two as to why they were not on your list of playoff locks. The Cavs.
I just looked at it purely from a uh wait, how many teams we have in under locks? One, two,
Five.
three, four, five. You know, we can move them to locks. I think they could be a lock for the sixth seed.
Yeah, but like there was a reason why you didn't have them at first.
I don't even remember that reason. We did this like 2 weeks ago.
This is true,
But
yes.
I think I think we should move them into the locks because
All right, let's do it now
I
then.
don't think there's a better team for the sixth place. Yeah, like Hawks are good, but I don't think they're going to be as good as the Cavs. I'm sorry. I
Yeah,
mean, I
no,
love Trey Young, but
and we're not saying that the Cavs are like contenders, like championship contenders. However, I do see them going. I can see them. Let me rephrase that. I can see them going to the conference finals. However, they're they're most likely a second round team, and that's fine. They're young still. They're getting they had to get that camaraderie together with Donovan Mitchell. Levert really needs to step up as a backup. But bringing in Rubio was, I think, really important, and then Raul Neto as their backup point guard as of now, solid pickup. They got brought in solid guys. Robin Lopez, great locker room presence. I think this Cavs team definitely can make the conference finals. But they would have to get really lucky to do it. But second round, obviously. But yeah, so we have our top six teams. We have the Hawks Raptors here as legit playoff slash play in contenders. Are they like the two teams? Are they like the two teams that are like it's kind of them? Like if they don't make it, it will be a disappointment. Or are the Raptors really a disappointment? Because I think the Hawks would be a
what do you
disappointment if
mean,
they don't make it.
like oh, for sure, with
Yeah,
the Dejounte experiment?
one thousand
I
percent.
think they're a lock. They're a lock for seventh seed. Eighth seed is a little more up in the air, just because I don't know if it's going to be Raptors, Bulls,
Raptors and Bulls are really
because
my teams. That you know what? Screw it.
it's a toss up for me.
Let's move Bulls up. I feel like they're being too disrespected right now.
It's
Uh,
just because of the Lonzo situation.
yeah,
It progressively got worse as we just saw more news. Like we thought he would have been here for the beginning of the season, and now it's like this could be potentially another Zion situation where it's like we don't even know when he's going to show up.
and that
That's what it is. Because
sucks.
Lonzo turns this team. Lonzo would have made this a legitimate like Hawks Bulls no debate. I'm sorry, Raptors, but we don't know what's going on with Lonzo. Vucevic forgot how to play basketball. You know.
He's great on Twitter though. He's great on Twitter. If you don't follow Vucevic on Twitter, you really should. He is a menace to society, bro. He's hilarious. I love him. But yeah, I agree with you. I think the Lonzo injury, if he's not injured, you're right. They're locks for at least the play in, and they're like the best team to advance to the eighth seed or seventh seed because they got DeRozan, who yes he is a year older. However, in the regular season, he plays. He plays really well in the regular season. Zach Levine, a player who's never been to the playoffs up until last year, and he was nice. He did all right, and I felt like he's gonna have that chip on his shoulder. Like he has that taste of he's gonna want it. However, looking at the Raptors side of things, um, Scotty Barnes, another year. He's going into a second year. He is already probably their second best player. I don't want to say Van Vliet or Siakam because I'd say they're just one player together. Like it's them two, right? They're one and one, and then after that is Scotty, right? But Scotty really is like he's an all around defender. He can score the ball inside, but his offensive game is very raw. However, if you saw in over the offseason, he's been putting in a lot of work. So the Raptors really have just a bunch of wings. Delano Blanton, I think that's the kid's name. Is like 6'9" point guard. Imagine that. He's a whole 2K player right now, bro. It's he's a good. They got a good core. I just think they have a better advantage because they're healthier than the Bulls are. Lonzo is such a big loss for the Bulls that the Raptors are like they're gonna feed off of that. And they play defense. The Bulls really don't have any defenders. And Patrick Williams really needs to step up because this is he's entering what his fourth year and he's not doing crap, right? So Patrick
Well, he
Williams
was injured.
he was, but when he came back, he wasn't anything special. Like I mean, I get it. He did come back from injury, but still, he did nothing. Now he had an off season. He did really well. Good for him. But I just think there's so many question marks for the Bulls. That point guard spot, defending, they don't really have that, right? So I don't know. I don't think the Bulls make it. I think it's Hawks and Raptors, and I only think it's Hawks because they have to. Just like your case with Minnesota. I think was it Minnesota that you said? Yeah. Just
Yeah,
because
because
of your case in Minnesota is the same thing with Atlanta. They gave up a lot for Dejounte. No reason to. Spurs saw something in Wembanyama, and they were like, "Yeah, get Dejounte out of here." Same situation here. If they don't make the playoffs, this is the biggest disappointment. Um, because last
of
season was
this
a
Eastern Conference.
disappointment.
Yeah.
This last season was a disappointment for the Hawks anyway. So to disappoint teams, disappoint fans, back to back years, that's insane. But I can see it happening. I can really see it happening. I can see Dejounte being an overrated player. I can see John Collins growing very frustrated with the organization. I can see Okongwu and Capella really fighting for that center spot. One game you start, one game I start type thing. And DeAndre Hunter just got paid. DeAndre Hunter never sees the floor. He's injured like 50% of the time.
How much did he get paid?
So
How
I
much did
believe
he
he
get
got
paid?
95 million. So not bad. 4 years, 95. That's like what, 18 to 20 something mil a year. Nice. Yeah. So he got a solid he got solid a solid contract, but he's injured. So it's not really looking good out there. They really have no bench. I mean Holiday and Bogdanovich, Kaminsky, Frank the Tank. Shout out Kaminsky. But yeah, I think those two are the teams. But let's talk about other teams that can potentially knock these guys out and really surprise us. The one team here that I see that should low key officially go down to the Wembanyama tier is the Hornets because the Mellow Ball is hurt and he's going to be hurt basically the entire year. And not because he is actually hurt, but just because they don't really need him. So Hornets, you guys are down there.
Wait, what happened?
Like Lamelo Ball, he hurt his leg, but he's gonna be out for a few weeks. He's gonna come back. He's gonna get injured again, and then he's gonna be out. In reality, that's just the Hornets saying, "We don't want you to play. We want to tank for Wembanyama." Because Lamelo is good enough to win you games, and if he's not there, then nobody there is good enough to win them games, unless Terry
Terry
Rozier
Rozier,
popped off.
scary Terry.
Yeah, and Book Knight got arrested, by the way. Um, if that
What?
matters. Yeah, this team, bro,
What?
they turned into the Jailblazers, bro. Like even though the Jailblazers never actually went to jail, so yeah, if you guys didn't watch All the Smoke podcast, you guys should. Um,
Trez Harrell,
but yeah, Harrow, Bridges, Book Knight. Well,
Bridges. Yeah.
Harrow's gone. Yeah, so crazy stuff going on out there. However,
What is going on in Charlotte?
anyway, let's get back to the fringe playoff and play-in contenders. The Wizards and the Knicks. Wizards are there. Why? Bradley Beal. It's like the
These
connection there
teams
was
are in
there.
similar situations where they should be trying to tank, but because of just bad management. They have players on the roster that won't allow them to tank.
Right. And the
And for the
Wizards
Wizards, it's
have,
Kristaps
yeah, they
and
have a
Wembanyama.
Wembanyama right there already. They have Kristaps.
Yeah, Wembanyama Jr.
Wembanyama. I feel like the Wizards are in basketball. What is it? Basketball purgatory? Is that the term? I don't know what the term is really, but basically
Probably.
they're
Yeah.
that like no man's land. You know, they got Monte Morris, Bradley Beal, Denny Abdia, Cal Kuzma, and who there's Kristaps. Then off their bench they got Rui,
Hmm.
Barton, and like that's it. Like they have, there's nothing there to be excited about. I
I think
mean,
they're gonna be like 11 looking into 10.
and that sucks because they're not going to be bad enough for Scoot, who I feel like would be great alongside Bradley Beal, and they're not going to be bad enough for Wemby, who also would be great for any team. So yeah, that's a really bad uh,
It's the same exact
situation.
thing for the Knicks too, looking at their roster.
Now, my okay, so Breezy
I
hit me
think so.
up.
That's no man's land.
Breezy asked me. He's so stupid. He was like, as a basketball savant, like, what do you think about the Knicks? Can they tank for Wembanyama? And I said, technically, they can because they have their pick, so they can be like, yo, all of you guys are not playing. Let's bring him Quentin Grimes, and that's it, right? But that they're not going to do that because they're so far into the luxury, technically, right, for their team. They got Brunson, they got Barrett, they got Fournier,
Julius.
Julius, Mitchell Robinson. That team is not bad enough to tank, but they're not good enough to win. I picked up Brunson for my fantasy, but that's because I mess with Brunson. And I feel like he's good. He's the only really point guard. I mean, him and D Rose, but Brunson is gonna like he's he's so important for that team, but he's really
So
not.
is RJ Barrett.
And RJ Barrett, I think he is really gonna pop off this season. I think he's gonna do really
Me too.
well.
He's on my fantasy.
Will he be an All Star potentially? Potential All Star. We should do a podcast on that.
He'll
Potential All
be like
Stars
one of the guys that get in off of the injury. Yeah, you're
injuries
right.
like Lamelo. Like who knows? He can be he can. But I think the Knicks compare. Like here's the thing, right?
Same as the Wizards.
We have nine. No, we have 8 teams, right? No, 9 teams already for the play-in, playoffs and play-in, right? So we have for the play-in as of now, we have Hawks, Raptors, and Bulls. Who is that fourth team then? Because if it's not the Wizards, it's not the Knicks. Do you see any of these Wembanyama teams that could potentially make it? I think Pistons are like scary. I think Pistons can low key do it only because they are
They
that team that just looks like they're gonna have fun out there.
they would want to shut down those players. I think they'll do what the Oklahoma City Thunder do. They shut down their best players for half the year and tank.
Yeah, you're saying the Pistons.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
My
Kate
question
Cunningham.
is the Pacers, if they don't get rid of certain players who are great for them and have been great for them, but if those players are on the roster, I don't know if they're going to be bad enough for Wembanyama.
Well, I mentioned that, right?
Especially because Tyrese is going to be even better next year.
Yeah, I think I mentioned that in the last pod. Like, um, if the Pacers really want to tank and go for this kid, trading Buddy and Miles for Russ and at least one first round pick, I don't see that being bad. If the payoff is
That's a great.
you guys are going to be such a bad team to get the number one overall pick to draft Wemby, do it. Now, if I'm the Pacers, I'm not doing that because Pacers are known to not get the first overall pick. So I'm just going based off of history.
It's their year. It's their year. They're
But
going
you
to do
never
it.
know. Maybe this could be the year because they could probably get Scoot too and probably play him alongside Tyrese. Who knows? Scoot is not a bad pickup too. But of course, if you're gonna trade those guys away, you're gonna
Could
want
be a
Wemby.
first overall pick.
You're gonna want Wembanyama, right? So I agree. I don't see any team. But let's get to it. Hawks, Raptors, Bulls definitely in our play-in tournament, right? Who is that last team? Is it Wizards or is it New York?
It's tough. Um, right now it would be Brunson balling out, Julius Randle remembering how to play basketball.
Nice.
We got RJ Barrett another year of his development. D
Playing with
Rose
his
is
right
back
hand.
healthy. Um, they're you have that versus Bradley Beal, he's got a contract. He's not
Solidified
going
All
to be
Star.
fantastic, but he's going to be decent. You're going to have Kristaps, who's balling out for them at the end of last season when he was healthy.
He's
Deni
hurt too
Avdija, like
now,
you
though.
said, yeah, well, he's injury prone. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, believe me, I know.
I know
So if you're telling me which one would you rather take, two much better players, but who are injury prone and the rest of the roster isn't that great, or a really solid roster with a decent head coach who has a decent track record, who has been in this position before, I think I would take the latter, regardless of Bradley Beal's stardom and Kristaps Porzingis. If Kristaps is healthy, this might make me sound kind of stupid, but I think I'm gonna go with the Knicks just because of RJ, D Rose, Brunson, and
Yeah.
Julius Randle. I think he's gonna be not terrible this year.
He can't
Like
he
there's no
can't
way
be
he's
any
gonna hit.
worse. Exactly. He can't be any
Can't
worse than
be
last year.
exactly. You can't get any lower than rock bottom, my friend. And
Yeah,
the same goes
fucking.
for Evan Fournier, right?
Oh well, Evan Fournier, look, he balled out in Europe. He should bring that back to the NBA because he is
Bring
just
some of it back. Like,
garbage.
yeah.
Yeah,
So I got Knicks.
I so I would agree, and I'm leaning towards agreeing with you because look, Brunson is such a great pickup, regardless of the contract, regardless of how he got there. Brunson is a very important pickup for that team, right? He's a solid. He keeps everybody in check as the point guard, and I love that. Now, let's look at the other side of things though. For the Knicks, the reason why, and if you didn't hear the podcast that I did with Jerry a few months back on the Knicks, he said it perfectly. Him as a Knicks fan, he said back when they were good, right? There was no fans in the stands. They didn't have anybody until the playoffs came around, where they lost 4-1 to the Hawks, right? And his point was, I want to see the Knicks have a full season of fans at the Garden. I want to see how they react to the boos when they make a mistake. And I was like, I didn't think about that. He's like, well, now look at what's happening. You got Julius Randle acting like a baby because everybody's booing him every time he takes a shot or does like one of those stupid spins, right? You got people booing RJ Barrett, people booing all these guys. But that's just a part of being on the Knicks roster. You think Carmelo didn't get booed? You don't think J.R. Smith got booed? Shumpert, Tyson Chandler, Stat, all these guys got booed. But that's what makes you a Knicks player. That it's what happens when you play in Madison Square Garden. And then thinking about it, I was like, like this guy, he's right. For one thing, he's a Knicks fan, so that already should make him. I feel really bad for him. But in like looking at it all, the Knicks will go into this season with, you know, having fans in the stands, playing against teams like the ones that we're mentioning now, and they could potentially be worse. And you got a coach in Thibodeau that doesn't care about anybody but defense. As long as you play defense, you're going to be on that team. Who really plays defense on that team? Mitch Robinson. That's it, right? Brunson he tries, but he can't. He's too short. Barrett, like a lot of
Could
these
be
guys,
better defensively, to be honest. I
there's
think
really
that's a
nothing
knock on his
there.
game.
You have a coach that thrives on defense without any true defenders on their team, right? So it's really tough. For Wizards side of things, though, I agree with you. Kristaps is too injury prone, and if your second best player is injured, you're not doing anything. So with just that alone, with the inconsistency of the Wizards having Kuzma as your third best player, which I get it, Lakers fans are probably so sad that he's gone. But I don't think that the Wizards improved at all. I think the Knicks slightly have the advantage over Washington. However, I will not be surprised if both of them make it and the Bulls slip because the Bulls are also another team with a lot of injuries. So, but as of now, let's just say it. We got Bucks, Sixers, Miami, Boston, Nets, Cavs, Hawks, Raptors, Bulls out. And the Knicks. For the play-in team, we got Hawks,
Felt
Raptors,
that.
Bulls, and Knicks. That was a lot. Are you happy with what we got so far? We got the play-in tournament. That was important, I guess. But with all that being said, though, Magic, Pistons, Pacers, Hornets. None of them have a chance at all. Not one of them. Bankero won't surprise you with dropping 20 points and 10 rebounds a night. And Cole Anthony goes for most improved player. Franz Wagner is MVP. Like, do you not see the Magic, like, potentially, finally getting over that hump or not?
Well, that's what makes this Eastern Conference so exciting because although these teams are definitely worse than the other teams we mentioned, they're not terrible.
I
Well, let
agree.
me see. Well,
Yeah.
Hornets minus LaMelo, they're pretty terrible. But other than that, Magic, Pistons, Pacers, these teams aren't terrible. Like they got
And
good
Pacers
rosters.
aren't
Wendell Carter Jr. on the Magic,
Wendell.
like
And
they've got
Pacers
good
aren't
players.
even the Pacers aren't bad because they got Buddy and,
They,
and Miles. Like that's it though.
yeah, and they have Tyrese. Tyrese was like
Tyrese,
20
yeah,
and 10 last
obviously.
year, and he's gonna get even better. Like the Pacers would be the 11th team sneaking into the 10th spot, closer to the Knicks and Wizards level if it weren't for the fact that they can easily go in the opposite direction and go for Wembanyama.
They should.
Wizards and Knicks, they can't do that.
Yeah.
Pacers can go either way, which is so interesting with them. They can go to try to contend for that last play-in spot, but they also have the opportunity to, you know, like you said, go for Wemba.
Yeah. I agree. I am all for it, man. I think those four teams are like really bad, but they're only really bad because they actually have the best chance to go for Wembanyama. That's why we have his name there. Same goes for Spurs. Same goes for OKC, right? Um, Now, it is the way that the draft lottery works is it's very different now. But basically, even if you are the worst team, you don't have the best odds to get that top pick. It's very weird in how it works. But it's really the three worst teams. They all have the best odds to land that first overall pick. And even then, sometimes that doesn't even work out. So we'll see how it all goes. But with all that being said, let me stop sharing real quick. And let me go back here. Hey. So, with all that being said, Isandro, I'm excited for this season. And I think we should do this rather quickly. Um, who is making the finals this year, in your opinion? Or, no, better yet, top two teams for each conference. Not like as a first seed, but like just overall talent wise, each conference who has the best team.
Sixers and Bucks in no particular order, obviously, for the East. And for the West, you have uh, mm,
Golden State and Denver,
Warriors, Warriors, and no, not Denver. I want
Clippers.
Denver. If there was a third team, it would be the Denver, but I'm gonna go Clippers.
I agree.
Warriors and Clippers.
I'm both. I might. You know what? I'm gonna be a homer. Let me just turn my cap around. I'm gonna say Nets and Bucks, just to be a little
Nets.
different. But
But you were the one who mentioned the coaching, though. I would have said Nets if it wasn't for the
no,
coaching.
yeah.
If they had fantastic coaching,
No,
Nets
no,
would be
we're
locked.
talking everything. All the above.
All just
I'm just saying Nets
together.
because I believe in my team, baby. My Nets are gonna take it all this year, guaranteed. Nah, I can't say that. You know what's funny? Ever since this team was built, I never actually said that they're gonna win a championship because I'm always been one of those guys that's like if I say that, then it's definitely not gonna happen. So I really don't want to be that guy this year. But you know what? Screw it. Nets are winning it in four.
Hot take:
Sweeping.
Ben Simmons is going to be your most valuable
Bring
player.
out the brooms, baby. I'm telling you, the Nets are winning it all.
Ben Simmons will be your most valuable player.
And Defensive
Was
Player of the
currently.
Year, and Most Improved Player of the Year, and Steve Nash should be Coach of the Year, and
No, I'm serious. Ben Simmons is actually going to be your MVP. He won't be the best, but he'll be the most valuable player. You heard it here first. That's my hot
oh,
take
for our
for the
team. Oh
East.
yeah. Well, that's obvious.
For you, yeah.
I mean, did you see him in the preseason against Giannis? What? He's nice. He's nice. But with all that being said, guys, thank you guys for joining us. We appreciate it. I'm really trying, man. I'm trying to, be a podcaster. You can see it with my hair and my face. I'm trying. But yeah. So with all that being said, guys, please like, subscribe, and hit the like button down below. Shout us out to all your families, friends, cats, dogs, sisters, brothers, and mothers. We are on all social media platforms, on all podcasting platforms. We are actually on TikTok. I made it already. So please follow us there, follow us on Instagram, and peace.